Similar to what we did for Black History Month for the entire month of February, we're going to do something to honor Women's History Month throughout the month of March. So similar to what we did for Black History Month for the listeners out there, where we talked about, I don't want to say obscure, but little known Black history moments in sports, aside from what everybody knows. The Jesse Owenses, the Jackie Robinsons, Hank Aaron's, so on and so forth, right? So we're going to do something similar for Women's History Month. So, which means that we're going to cover some that means a lot of people may not know about, right? So people know of Billie Jean King. People know about Martina Navratilova and other women who broke down barriers successfully that that folks know about. But to be honest, not many people know about many women who do so. Outside of maybe Danica Patrick in NASCAR, and in Indy racing before that. So those are things people know. The general public knows. So we're going to break down share some awesome women's history moments in sports that hopefully people would appreciate. So I'm gonna go first. We're gonna do 2 weeks, similar to what we did last month. So I'm gonna start with something that some people may know about, and that is Babe Didrikson. So who is Babe Didrikson, you might ask? Well, basically, let me put it this way. Before Bo Jackson, there was Babe Didrikson. So basically, she was born in 1911. She was a pioneer in women's sports. She set multiple world records, but how she was like Bo Jackson, she excelled, and I'm reading the list here: basketball, baseball, swimming, diving, golf, volleyball, bowling, and track, to name a few. Right? So just to name a few. She founded she was a founding member of the LGPA, believe it or not. And so, because they didn't have anything similar to what the men have, obviously with the PGA. But check this out, though. She won 2 Olympic gold medals in track and field, right? She actually won big in golf. If I'm not mistaken, if I'm looking at this here, she won 82 total tournaments in her career.
Wow.
And golf was considered her weak sport. Right? It didn't come natural to her. She had to really practice until it said she practiced so much her hand was bleeding and blistered. But she won 82 total tournaments. At one point, winning 14 in a row. And like I said earlier, when I alluded to the LPGA, she was on the 13 founding members in 1950, and would go on to win 3 U.S. Women's Opens and 10 total LPGA tournaments. So that is Babe Didrikson. And I'm sure there's a lot more out there, but I'm just giving y'all the skinny on that. And the next person I want to talk about, which many people may not know about, is Alice Coachman. So who is Alice Coachman? She, in 1948, became the first African-American woman to win an Olympic medal. Yes. So she was born in Albany, Georgia, one of 10 children in 1923. So you can imagine how that went. She was not allowed to practice on the same field as whites, so she trained in bare feet on dirt tracks.
Wow.
Barefoot on dirt tracks. That's how she trained. Turning ropes and sticks into high jumps. So basically, and one more thing, well, I should say another thing is, with the HBCU connection, she's a graduate of Tuskegee Institute, as it was known back then. And so from 1939 to 1948, she was wildly successful in track and field. She won the Amateur Athletic Union, AAU, high jump championships 10 straight times. And the 50-yard dash 5 straight times. Again, this is from a woman who had to train barefoot on dirt tracks, right? And so finally, she was able to compete in the Olympics in World War II, following World War II. She competed in the high jump. She cleared 5 feet 6 1/8 inches on the first try. And so basically, she won the gold in the high jump because the other person failed to clear the lower height. So that's how she won that gold medal. So that's how she became the first African-American woman in track and field. And this one more thing I would say is this. her story's a little bittersweet because in 1940 and 1944, the Summer Olympics were canceled due to World War II, which meant that she couldn't compete in her prime. Those were her prime years. So remember, she won the gold medal in 1948. She was said to be in her prime during those earlier years.
Yeah.
So people didn't get to see Coachman in action in her prime. And so basically, with the Olympics, as people would know, some people may know, weren't nationally televised until 1960. And so guess who was the star during that time? One, Wilma Rudolph. And so it was said that Coachman was resentful in the later years because of that. So she was robbed of those adulations. But anyway, just to bring it back, that's Alice Coachman, the first African American woman to medal in the Olympics. Those are my two.
Okay, so I'm gonna follow a similar pattern as you, where we talk about someone that some people may know about, and then bring up someone that you may not know about. But of course, as I always have to do, being of course the creator of the Yard HBCU Sports, I have to talk about those that have connections with HBCUs.
Yes.
First and foremost, I'm going to start with the great C. Vivian Stringer. Of course, a lot of you may know about C. Vivian Stringer during her times at Iowa and currently at Rutgers as the women's head basketball coach at both institutions. But Ms. Stringer started out at an HBCU at Cheney State. Matter of fact, the first 10 years of her career from 1972 to 1983, first 11 years, of her career, she spent at Cheney State before moving on to Iowa and going on to currently at Rutgers. And of course, for those who are familiar, she's won multiple conference championships at all three institutions. Matter of fact, she is the first head coach on a Division I level that has led 3 teams to a Final Four. And she has an all-time record of 1,041 wins and 421 losses. So she has a well over a 70% win percentage as a head coach. Of course, she's been named Coach of the Year several times, Conference Coach of the Year, has won multiple conference tournaments, conference championships, and has gone on to be a mentor to other Black women head coaches, and probably was a mentor to the next head coach I'm about to talk about, one Patricia Cage Gibbs. Patricia Gibbs, who graduated from Grambling, actually spent over 30 years coaching solely at HBCUs, where she coached at Grambling, Hampton, and North Carolina A&T during her 30-plus year career. She has 518 total wins in her career. She's the most winningest women's head coach that has done it solely at HBCUs. Multi-time conference champion, of course, in the MEAC and at the SWAC with all 3 programs. And she is the first women's basketball coach to go undefeated in the SWAC and was named to the SWAC Hall of Fame in 2018, if memory serves me correctly. And in 2012, she became the 51st NCAA head coach to join the 500 wins club. So Patricia Cage Gibbs and C. Vivian Stringer are my 2 women that I wish to honor this week during Women's History Month.
Awesome. Totally awesome. So we're kicking off Women's History Month with a bang, if you will. So that's cool. So